Welcome to my daily review. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025, and you're taking a look at the daily chart of the Nasdaq here, which was down 155 points or 0.87% on 17% below the 50-day average volume. You can see a couple of spike days in here recently, but the index closed at 17,689 and change. And the thing about the Nasdaq here is it rallied. First of all, let me go back a little bit here and just say from the peak here at 20,204 on December 16th to the trough at 14,784. This is a 27% decline. See if I could write 27% decline. And this rally here, it rallied up 22% to the high last Friday. Let me get it here, 18,048, and it's pulled back the last couple days. Gap down Monday, gap down Tuesday. The problem is you don't need a 27% gain to get back to the old highs here, do you? No. If you know math, you need a 37% gain to get way back up here. And that's a long way to go from where we're at right now. And that's the problem with big losses. If you have a big loss, like I say, in your portfolio of 27%, you need a 37% gain just to get back to even. And if you have a 50% loss, you need a 100% gain. That's why I always say you got to keep losses small, 5%. Take those paper cuts and, and avoid the big losses. It'll save you in the long run, keep you in the game. And, if you have a few, 4 or 5% losses, that's okay, especially if find a 15, 20, 25% winner, sometimes more when we get into a better market. A couple things I will say about the index. Let me clear this up here a little bit. I'll go to the weekly. We've had a few strong weeks recently. Obviously, the reversal week there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That was a strong week. Then you had a little, bit of a profit taking where the non-believers in the rally, they just said, I'm going to take my money now and get out of here. The following week, it was up almost 7%. Last week, it was up 3.4%. So this is a nice strong rally, and it just pulled back, 1.6% the last couple of days. If you want to take a look at the 5-minute chart, you can see there's a gap lower here. The gap on Monday lower. Yeah, bulls come in and try to drive it higher, but it's still sold off. Same thing today. Gap lower. Bulls tried to charge and drive it up, but it's still down 155 points or 0.87%. So these gaps lower. There's some sellers out there in the market. There's only buyers and sellers. So sellers are in control the last couple of days, just taking profits. I just want to point out one positive thing that happened today, besides the index going down, 155 points and recovering a little bit, is the 10 EMA is now trading above the 50. And pretty soon, barring, a disaster here, the 21 is going to go through the 50 as well. So these shorter term moving averages are now trending above the longer term moving averages, except the 200. The Nasdaq is still quite a ways from the 200 here, 3.4% below. It's hard for me to get really bulled up about an index that's trading below the 200. So it's got a lot of work to do, in my opinion. The other area of interest is at 18,281. I'd like to see it trade, above this level, above the 200, with some juice. I expected a little pullback this week and to have a couple of days, down days and lighter volume. That's fine. All right. I have got a lot of stuff to get to today, so I'm not going to get to all the other indexes. They're all, down. They've been down the last couple of days, but I lie. I'll go to the Dow. The Dow is down 390 points. The IWM down more than 1%, and the SPY, all below the 200 here, down a little more than the Nasdaq today. And it's 2.5% below the 200. So anyway, all right, I want to get to some earnings, but I'm going to go to Tesla here because I think of all the Mag 7 stocks, I think this one looks, I'm not going to say the best, but I think it looks ready or poised to maybe make a move higher here. It keeps getting rejected at the 200. Now it's pulling back gently in lighter volume down to this moving average. And I believe I believe at some point it's going to find support here at the 10 or the 21 and then rally through 300, rally through the $300 level, the 200 SMA level. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Maybe not tomorrow or the next day, but if it keeps, bumping its head up against that moving average, one of these days it's going to crack through that level. So that's one that I'm watching for. Of these, mega cap tech stocks, I'm not real thrilled with them. NVIDIA, same thing. This is above the 50 though, and below the way below the 200, but it's pulling back on lighter volume as well. Let me get the actuals here. It's yeah, 9.2% below the 200. So it's got a long ways to go in comparison to Tesla, which is just, 5.9%. So that'd be a decent rally, 6% rally. Anyway, I didn't want to go there with the Mag 7s, but I just wanted to show that. I have enough stuff to look at here, including I got to get to earnings because I'm a big earnings guy. And to me, Palantir did, if you're a holder, which I am, uh, this is exactly what I want to see, right? Because it moved from 66 here on April 7th, the low, the liberation low or whatever you want to call it, up to 125 within a month. Okay, this is like a 4-week run from 66 to 125. It's an 88% move in a short period of time. And now you have an earnings data. So, it's kind of like buy the rumors, sell the news. And so this could have been a lot worse. It just pulled back to its 21. Yeah, it came back down in volume here the last couple of sessions, but it held there at the 21 and it bounced a little bit. I wouldn't call that a bounce, but I'd say it found support. There's your support there at the 21. You don't see the 21 on the 5-minute chart, but trust me, that's the 21. And now, some buyers came in. So to me, that's what you want. And so what can you expect from here? Do I expect a bounce to new highs? No. I expect this thing to trade, between, I don't know, 105 and 115 maybe for a little bit before making a run at that 52-week high of 125.41. But I want to see it above the 21 though. Believe me, I don't want to see it, crash through 100. That's a different ball game if that happens, but to me it still looks good. As a shareholder, I would be happy with that. Technical action in Palantir. Let's take a look at the weekly since we're doing this charade. All right. This is a nice cup-shaped pattern without a handle, right? It needs a handle so far. You got a 12% move to the downside this week. That's a nice shakeout. That is a handle. It needs like 5 days though. So, for a real handle. So maybe we're looking at next week for Palantir. All right. I'm going to move on to HIMS because not everything was down, 12% today or whatever. HIMS and HERS, health, a nice reaction to earnings here. It had, great report, right? It's funny. It's got this accelerating sales growth, 52, 77, 95. Now you got your triple digit number there. You got the earnings going on here. And you can see the earnings growth went from negative to positive. I just talked about TGTX yesterday going negative to positive, and that's when these companies make their largest move. So I would expect HIMS to take out that old 72.98. And when you own a stock like HIMS, you own volatile biotech medical stocks, tech stocks, they're going to do this, right? They're going to pull back to their 200, especially during the market correction. This thing was at 72, traded down to 23. Everybody thought it was great here. If you bought it here, 45 or 50 and it ran up to 72, you're going, woohoo, I own the world, right? And then it does this 72 to 23, and you're going, I suck. This is horrible. Well, it just found support here at that moving average and traded higher on earnings data. So, there's a positive move on earnings data. We've seen a lot of negative ones, but it's 33% above its 10. So showing a lot of strength. Probably going to trade along the 5, I would imagine. So allow that 5 to catch up. Nice 18% move today, but if you own a stock, a growth stock, yeah, they're going to be volatile and they're going to come down to their 200 from time to time. That's just the nature of the beast. You want to hold them when they're doing, this, when they're in their ascent phase, And you don't want to hold them when they're doing that. But now that it's, found support, you want to hold them while they're doing this. I think this one's going higher over time. All right, that's it for him. It's a nice report. VRTX, the drug stocks got slaughtered today. A couple things. Well, this is an earnings report, but Prasad was named as FDA head of the FDA, and I don't know if that's good or bad. To me, I don't care, but the market thinks it's bad. That's all I care about. So these things all sold off. Vertex had a pretty bad report. They have a lot of cash here. They just got like, I don't know, 12 billion in cash sitting around. They could do a stock cash deal and buy some growth. And I think that a lot of these biotech, or I should say drug companies looking for growth are going to, put their war chest to work here pretty soon with this new administration. Also, Trump was talking about tariffs, so we got a double whammy on the biotechs today. I might as well show the XBI because this thing really got hammered. Look at that inverted hammer candle, down nearly 7% for this exchange traded fund. So the biotechs really got slammed today. Eli Lilly, Pfizer, I'm going to get to that in a minute. But one company reported today, and hey, what do you know? Had a nice little gap higher, came up to the 200 and got rejected, traded lower, but still, an 8% move on a day where the index was, it's had rough couple of days here. So that's encouraging for the NBIX holders. I had this one on the ready list a while ago, and it's like 140 here. Yeah, the cup with handle pattern, and it just fell out, corrected with the market. I mean, let's face it, things have been pretty crappy since December 20th. And so, yeah, so it's starting to recover now. So that one looks a hell of a lot better. Trading tight here, and then boom, nice move higher. All right, I've got to get to CEG. So these are the stocks that got hammered on the January 27th DeepSeek day. They got deep sixth, and this is a move for Constellation. 21% move on that day, and all the groups and all the stocks in that cohort got slaughtered. And they're starting to recover now. And this one you can see formed this base here, made that low of 161. Traded tight within the base and started to make a nice little move here recently, and today popped 10%. So I'm going to monitor that move today on Constellation. The leader in the group, though, GEV, which got whacked on that 27th as well, 22%. This one's recovered nicely, broke above the downtrending line, and now forming this cup-shaped pattern. Yeah, I like that one right there, about 390 here, and it's just trading a tick above it. And VST reports tomorrow. I'm going to get to tomorrow's reports, but this one's trading tight here. It wouldn't surprise me to see a good report rewarded tomorrow and maybe trade above 150. Anyway, I'll be watching for that. Mañana. Oh, let me see. DoorDash reported. Yeah, DoorDash bought a company. There's your double bottom base. Looks beautiful. Going to break out, right? They bought 7 rooms, I guess. Maybe the street thought they paid too much for it. Maybe they didn't like the report. Maybe a combination of both. But once again, this stock went from losses, pretty steep losses to gains now. I'm expecting this one to recover. It pulled back to its 50. 7% move to the downside, not ideal, but still, if you take a look at DoorDash and it's had a nice strong move, it's still consolidating here. Not the end of the world there at 190. All right. DigitalOcean reported this morning, another software name here got hammered down 13%. Sorry for the longs there. Mary Rat reported. The hotel chain up 2% on the, yeah, not a lot of growth there. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to show Datadog. Datadog reported just kind of flat on the report. 25%, man. They're steady eddies here at that 26, 27, 25 sales growth here for Datadog, and that's not bad at all. Race reported, RACE, Ferrari, if you will. This one's consolidating in a nice cup-shaped pattern. You could see here it's been, base on base pattern here. If I go to the weekly, you could see this better here. Flat base, consolidation, cup base. It's got all the bases down. All it needs is a double bottom. Anyway, Ferrari, yeah, it was up nearly 2% on the earnings today. And, they've got accelerating growth here with Ferrari. All right, I think that's it. Nope, I lied. An oil and gas stock, utility, gas distribution, and you can see this is kind of what you want to see here. This little I don't know, a shelf type pattern, just trading tight within a, near a buy point, above moving averages, and then pop 3 something%. You know that the gas has really been beat up recently, a lot of the oil and gas stocks, because oil's down so dramatically recently. But that's a utility gas distribution stock. And you can see the group is top 20 group here. Yeah, ATO I know is a strong one. EE. All right. I digress. I got to move on. That's it for earnings. I've got to get to a couple of it's not it for earnings. Sorry about that. Sterling reported today, and you can see these are recovering. The entire group now, what are they? 100. They were a lot lower, and now they're starting to climb up. Once again, these are data center construction plays, and this one got hit on January 27, 24%. This one's starting to recover too. This is a construction play. Not great here on the sales, but the market liked the report, up 3%. You can see it's recovering here, just forming this double bottom base. I know pattern rec is not picking this up here, but that is a double bottom pattern, and now starting to build the right side of that base. So that looks pretty good. Another one in the group that reported earlier, I think it was last week, Power, and this is one that I'm starting to monitor some of these gaps. We're getting a lot of these, well, I shouldn't say a lot. We're getting some of these breakaway gaps, and an indication of a strong market is, the ability not only to have leaders move higher, but stocks that gap up, they don't gap and crap right away. They either gap and hold, form a shelf, or they gap and go, but they don't, gap up and then come right back down to fill the gap right away. So Quanta is in this group. That one looks pretty good. Another one in this construction group is Road Construction Partners. Once again, consolidating within a base, looking pretty strong, building the right side of the base. Earnings on Friday morning, I guess. So we're looking for good things from the road. How is it out there on the road? And then MTZ is a Maztec. Another one is heavy construction in this group, building the right side of the base. So that's what you want to see, get them before they, make the big moves here. This one's trading tight within a base. It already reported earnings here recently. I've got to look back into that. This is July 31st, will be their next report. So maybe this is their gap up, 5%. Not bad last week. Just noticing this group here, that's all. That's why I wanted to show that. Just keeping an open mind as I am with the gold stocks. These things sold off and are now recovering. That's Harmony, Agnico Eagle, nice move today, 4%. Gold is, you notice that when the tech stocks, when the Nasdaq lags, the gold stocks, trade higher and vice versa. When the index does well, these things kind of sell off. But all Wheaton Precious Metals did was pull back to its 21 found support and it's bounced this week. I put this one on the ready list, and I don't know if anybody bought it. I don't know if anybody looks at that, but it was up 6%. Did I buy it? No. It's still, one of the top groups here, so it can't be ignored. Just acknowledging strength, that's all. All right. I did mention earlier that XBI just got slaughtered. Some of the big pharma names within the group, Eli Lilly, they had a strong report and sold off, down, nearly 6% today on, I don't know if it was Prasad or the tariff talks. It just seemed like they're a week all day. Yeah, just gap lower at the open, just sold off all day. Put it this way, I don't think the announcement of Prasad helped. How about that? And the tariffs not helping. AstraZeneca. So you'd think that the ADRs would be hit harder, but this one actually did better than Eli Lilly, but it was still down 2.5%. That's not fun. Pfizer, US company. Um, Let me see here. This one down 4% today and almost 6% for the week. So that one's dying. GlaxoSmithKline, one of these ADRs. Once again, the UK stock down 3.5%. Novartis pulling back to its 50. It's just they were all weak today, the biotechs, and this is why people don't like trading biotechs. They just have this propensity to crash hard. But no risk, no reward. With the penthouse comes the outhouse, many outhouses. All right, so that's it for I have a joke here with a friend that Bristol Myers has been in it's been consolidating in a base for 25 years here. It was $50. I swear I could go back to 2000. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't pick on Bristol Myers. Yeah, it had a nice run there, but ever since what, 99? Was it 98? It was $60. And what is it today? Mm, I think it's $60, right? Or a little less. Yeah. So anyway, oh God, 47. So yeah, hasn't gone anywhere in like I don't know, almost 30 years. Anyway, that's the running joke. It breaks out every time Halley's Comet comes around. What is that, like every 75 years? So we're waiting on Halley's Comet to come around for Bristol Myers. Anyway, I shouldn't tease. I know a lot of people that own Bristol Myers just in because it pays, right? Bristol Myers pays you what's the yield on it? Yeah, 5.2% to hold, which is better than a bond, right? So just buy it, own it. It's going to pay you every quarter. If you put it in a drip account, those shares are going to build up over time. They're going to be worth less, but you'll have more of them. Anyway, I'm moving on before I get in trouble here. All right, more areas of strength. This is one area that I believe it's essential. The cybersecurity stocks are essential. Yeah, I know they're expensive, but they're not really susceptible to the tariffs. This is one area. I mean, even Netflix got hit with the film, talk about the film tariffs. I think every group has been hit, but not cybersecurity. And CrowdStrike here flat on this session, allowing the moving averages to catch up. You can see it broke out of this cup with handle pattern here on the 24th. This one looks fantastic. Um, Zscaler making new highs every day. This thing is just ridiculous. Couldn't go down today, right? The index has been down the last couple of days, but it's just hanging in there. Looks like an inside day today. Zscaler, phenomenal strength with that one. Fortinet downgraded today, so I expected it to take a big hit. Not bad though. It just had an inside day as well, down 1.5%. That one looks pretty good. Okta, another one in this group. Looking pretty darn good here, consolidating in a base. When do they report? The 27th. So that's coming up. And then I saw GEN. Did they report today? Yeah, they reported today. I saw, okay, it was up 3 something percent. So that's part of my after. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute, but good for them. What are, what other ones do I have here? Oh, Palo Alto Networks, of course is one of the leaders of this group, total cash cow with Networks. So when people say, "Oh, it doesn't go anywhere," this thing has got cash flow, return on equity up the wazoo. This thing is a cash cow. And it's not going to make new highs every day. It's a big company, it's 125 billion market cap, but this thing, I think, over time will reward you, probably outperform the S&P. Um, yeah, but it's not a go-go stock anymore. Like a Rubric. I think Rubric's a lean and mean. Now it's a 14 billion market cap. Every time I look, it's a billion higher. A nice double bottom base pattern here. I had this one on the ready list earlier. I don't know when, but I might put it back on. I like this one a lot. It was down 0.5% today with the index. Yeah, I like Rubric. I might have to put this one on my ready list once again. It broke above the downtrend line here. Double bottom base pattern, right? Breaking above the downtrend line on Monday, pulled back a little bit today to its 10, but that looks fine. Rubric, what other ones do I have here? KVYO, another software name. I think they reported. Anyway, I better move on. Just to some other names that I like. CoreWeave, software name. This one's an IPO base. Man, look out. I was looking at the options flow for, I think it was, when are they reporting earnings? May 28th. It was June 16th, 75s, and they were pretty hot. So a lot of people expecting this one to break above its IPO high here, which is what, 64, to call it 65. So yeah, and either before or after they report earnings, this one has got some strength. Did a nice little U-turn, right? There's a bunch of buyers, as it came to market, then they just took profits and then whoop, did a U-turn, 33.52, did the old okey doke, see you later, going the other way, did the reverse pattern. And now I can't say making new highs because it's not. But if you take out this one day here, yeah, nice IPO base. I think it's going to go higher, but that's just me. I'm very optimistic and think all stocks can go higher. Um, anyway, Hood, another stock that I like. I had it on the ready list. I took it off, but now I'm starting to like this one again. This has got this like this wedge pattern here. This is, as it pulls back to a moving average, kind of gently here, not a violent move. They reported strong earnings here. You could see this tremendous triple digit, earnings growth, 50% sales growth. That's nothing to sneeze at. And it didn't move. I mean, you couldn't even tell what day this thing had earnings, and now it just pulls back to moving average. I think this one's ready to bounce over that 49.88. That would be, my trigger here. And yeah, I'll probably put it on the ready list tomorrow. I think I had it last week. It didn't move, or I don't know. I've had it on, but it just hasn't moved. And I think it's getting ready to move. Uh, Kind of like Tesla, except this one's above its moving averages. All right, so I'm going to move on. And I mentioned gaps earlier. One way to monitor the market, and I always look for leaders in the market, stocks trading above their moving averages, stocks near or making new highs, and also stocks that are gapping higher. And how are the gaps handled? Are they being sold? Are they just forming shelf patterns? Are they coming right back and crapping out? This one's just kind of forming this little bull wedge pattern as it gently, trades back to a moving average on light volume. This one looks fantastic to me. 73.26 is probably the 21. If it pulls back there, that would definitely be a trigger. And above 76.73, that would definitely attract a crowd. So that one's acting well. That's Edwards Life Sciences. Duolingo, one that popped last week. I think it was Friday. Yeah, Friday moved 22% higher. What did it do Monday? Made a new high. Today pulled back. Woohoo, big pullback, almost a whole percent. Yeah, it was down lower and closed near the highs of the session there, 85% of the daily range. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart on this one. Yeah, kept down at the open and just buyers all day. So closed near the high of the session. So Duolingo, definitely a strong stock, and I would say definitely holding its gains. ADMA, this one's not really fair to show. It gapped higher on FDA approval, and now once again forming this bull wedge pattern here. But they've got earnings tomorrow, so you got to expect caution. You got to expect some profit takers, to get the heck out of there because we've seen some disastrous earnings reports recently, including WGS. And we just got one tonight in SRPT. And then TGTX did not fare very well either. So yeah, you got to be careful with these biotechs. But so far, it's held up after the FDA approval. All right. Sorry if you own those stocks because that's a lot of pain to take. OSIS, some of these defense stocks have been really ramping hard. This one gapped higher on May 1, which is Thursday, held a little bit. It's still holding that low of that session of 210, closed today at 220, not bad. And then HWM is another one of these that gapped higher on the 1st, which was last Thursday, and now making new highs. How I Met Your Mother is just strength. That is just super strength. And then ODD, odd. I got into not an argument. I got into a lively discussion with a chap today. This one was up 30%, an Israeli company, and now making new highs. Looks strong. This is the type of stock that I like. And of course, my buddies who are trend traders, they like it too. I just got to point out, a couple things. It's really it's way expensive. It's what almost a 4 billion market cap, and it's got sales of I don't know 600 million. It does have some cash flow, and return on equity is 43%. But in this kind of group here is Elf, which has been beat to hell. They've got tremendous cash flow in comparison, way better sales, and market cap pretty similar here. So to me, I think I'd rather take a shot at Elf with, twice the sales and half, the same price for with twice the sales. But that's just me. Oddity obviously breaking out and making new highs. That's what I say. It attracts a certain crowd, these momentum names, but it just depends what type of a trader you are. If you like picking bottoms, to me, I think Alpha's made this bottom here, right there around $50, $50, 49, $50. Now it's 68, so I think the bottom is in there, although, I don't pride myself on being a bottom picker. But anyway, just wanted to point out the gap here. It's like, I digress. It's holding its gap and then some. It's making new highs. And that's what brought it to my attention. It's up like 80, almost 90% from that low there. So that's already made a hell of a move. I don't know, just between the two, I'd rather have Elf than something that's up so dramatically and so far above its, 16% above its 10. I couldn't buy that there. I'd have to wait for it, the five to catch up at least. All right. Anyway, God, I just completely missed the point there. The point is the gaps are holding. Yay. I showed this one earlier, holding the gap. Okay, that's what we want to see. It's not getting ripping, right? There's not gapping and go. It's gapping and holding. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign. It's not a runaway euphoric market. It's been a decent market since the April 7th lows. And with these gappers holding their gains, a lot of stocks making new highs. And you see stocks like Netflix, Palantir, Uber, these ones look good. Netflix, a leader. I showed you Palantir earlier. Uber, they're going to report tomorrow. So these are some of the stronger names. I'm not going to get to all of them because I do that every day. Anyway, that's it for me. And since I'm showing Uber, I got to show you Pony. Pony, I dig a pony. An old Beatles song, right? If you're a Beatles, if you know, as they say. But anyway, had a deal with Uber, and this is a Chinese autonomous driving company, up 48% today on that deal with Uber. So congrats to the longs there. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in the honor of the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing. And that is after the bell tonight, AMD reported, yay, and it's up 4%. Pretty strong number. The PCs people are saying that maybe there's a pull forward with the tariffs and people bought their PCs, but I gotta tell you, you talk about a downtrend line. There's one touch, there's two touches, there's three touches, there's four touches. I mean, this is a hell of a downtrend line. If this thing wants a pop out of that downtrend line tomorrow, I am all for it. I know a lot of people rip AMD because it hasn't done anything, and we're all about what have you done for me lately, right? That's kind of what our society is. And this is sold off. It was up to what 227, and now it's up what under 100. So that kind of sucks. But I just want to point out one thing, and that is Lisa Su, the CEO there, who's been there since October. I'm going to do this quickly here, hopefully. October of 2014. And I think I'm safe to say that the shareholders at AMD are very happy with Lisa Su's performance. You could see, there's had a couple of downtrends here. This is the bear market of 2022. And now, the recent bear market, yeah, it's sold off, but this thing's up, 3,400%. I think that the shareholders are happy, and it's really kicked ass on a lot of its peers like Intel, which is down over that time period, Qualcomm, and then some of the big tech names that get all the headlines. Lisa Su has slaughtered these things. Elon gets a lot of, hype, but Lisa Su's kicked his ass too, all over the damn place. In her tenure here, I mean, that's a hell of a run. And I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm a big Lisa Su fan because I like smart people, and she's really, really freaking sharp. Meta, Zuck's a sharp, CEO, but she's knocked circles around him. And same with Google. Google's king of the internet. AMD's mopped the floor with these. So yeah, it's sold off recently, but I think the shareholders at AMD are happy with Lisa Su, as she's been a tenure since back here. Yeah, Lisa Su was hired here, and we got this. So I think they're pretty damn happy with her. And I just wanted to point that out. You know, if you bought this stock when she was hired, I think you're happy. Put it that way. Some people don't, swing trade or day trade. They hold for a long period of time, and I think people are super happy with AMD. And I'm happy that it's up 4% after hours because that's good for tech. tomorrow. Look, ooh, a cool blue screen. I got to get that out of here because it bugs some people. All right. Arista Networks reported tonight, and they had a good report as well, but down 7%. Oops. It was up. It was up quite a bit. So I don't know if they said something on the conference call. Who knows? I'll have more in the morning. ALAB reported tonight. This is last year's darling, and not so much. Down 3%. All right. Not too bad. Upstart, I saw that one was down. Upstart going the wrong way, down 16%. Ouch. WYNN reported not great numbers and maybe a little haircut tomorrow. I don't know that they missed on top and bottom line. RUVN losing money. Hard for me to put money into a stock that's losing money right now in this tape. Just it's really tough. You got to have sales growth. You got to have some earnings growth in this market. TEM reported tonight, the old Nancy Pelosi stock down 7%. I think she probably checked out, the way she trades. She probably bought here and then sold here, and adios muchachos. MRCY, this is in that group with Howmet, down 1% after hours. I'll have it tomorrow. I'll see how this thing trades. I didn't hear anything about their earnings, but it's consolidating here. Pull back to the 10 today. We'll see what happens tomorrow with Mercury Systems. 3 billion market cap, smaller aerospace and defense stock. SMCI, just horrible numbers. Oh God. Yeah, it's only down 4% because they pre-announced. Yeah, that thing's in the tank. But it was a good stock for us when we owned it, back in the day. Well, I think it was 2022. Whenever it had this run, 22, 23. Yeah, it was a fantastic stock. But sometimes, you just got to say goodbye to a hero. And then SRPT, I showed you this earlier, just tanking after hours. 26 down 26% during the session and following up with more pain afterwards. All right. All right, I did my Lisa Su thing. I did. Okay, tonight's earnings. Tomorrow we have Uber to look forward to. I'm looking forward to that. And NVO mentioned that the drug stocks just got completely annihilated today. I'm expecting NVO to report a pretty decent number. They're going to talk about they're going to give us an update on their oral. They're going to be first to market with their oral weight loss pill. I guess oral implies a pill, right? Well, their weight loss pill. How about that? Disney reports in the morning. Looking forward to that. They got, the tariff talk and the movies and all that stuff. So we'll see what they have to say about that. Vistra, I mentioned that, the power play. I think they're going to report a decent number and be rewarded and trade above 150. I didn't buy any calls or any options or anything for that. I believe that's probably the way it's headed here based on their peer group, GEV and CEG, strong reactions to decent earnings. So I think we'll get the same thing from VST. And then Oscar, the last one. Last but not least, Oscar the Grouch reports in the morning. This thing is a disruptor. It's really sold off a lot. I could see, just a decent number being rewarded here. And you could see in the chart here, the caution ahead of earnings. It's like, yeah, that it made the low, like with everything else, kind of rallied up and it just kind of went flat below its 50. Would not surprise me at all. In fact, I'm expecting a decent number to be rewarded and back up, maybe to fill that gap there. It's got a gap in the chart where it sold off right here on this day here. The low that day was 1550. So let's see if Oscar can have a decent report and get back up to 1550. The 200 SMA is right now 1589. So it wouldn't surprise me to see it rally up to the 200 and get rejected. Anyway, just wait and see one day at a time, not predicting. Just have some expectations on some certain names. And that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, so don't give up. This little pullback here is digestion on the indexes are healthy longer term. Had a nice rally. Like I said, 27% loss, 22% gain, a little sideways action, allowing the moving averages to catch up as they're going to trade through the 50. I think we're going to have a V-shaped rally, but I'm prepared for anything. If this thing decides that it wants to make a third leg down, which I don't think it will. I think that is your low, but if it does, then you have to prepare for that and you have to have plans for the other side of the trade. Anyway, thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. ever.